Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, as you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where, I still have Foundry open. I hope these people are not making notes. I can keep it open for a little bit. There's no music playing in the background anyway. Anyway, late night recording. Why? D&D session today. Oh man, let me tell you about this D&D session. It's probably one of the weirdest sessions there has been in one of the weirdest D&D sessions I've ever played in. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:25 p.m. on Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. And it's especially weird because it wasn't meant to be a particularly weird session, to be honest. This is the chaotic group, I suppose. And I should call them. This is group 1. As they're known. These are the ones group 2 just literally on Monday, they basically defeated their Act 1 boss, and they're going to have like a sort of epilogue. It depends what they do with the epilogue, it depends on how long it will be. But this group, it's been like 3 or 4 sessions now, I think, since they defeated the Act 1 boss. I mentioned it before, that they did it super early because they basically rushed there as soon as possible, like ignoring anything else on the way. The only reason they stopped is because there was like an actual wall that they had to overcome. Not like a literal one, but like a story wall kind of that they had to overcome. So they basically just did everything as fast as possible. And now their epilogue is now super long because they're basically going back and doing everything they missed. So this is meant to be like the sort of transitional episode. Well, at least I thought it was going to be a transitional session where it's like, okay, they're basically at a festival. This is the epilogue part. Last session, they basically celebrated and did all the festival things. This session was like, oh, okay. This is like the time where they have a bit of downtime, they finish wrapping up the festival, they like talk to the people and do any like small things that they want to, and then I thought what they do is they would set off to their next destination, where the plot is telling them to go next. Of course, they don't have to go there. I mean, nowadays, now it's going to be a bit more certainly open-ended with how things happen. Like Act 1 was very much set in stone. It takes place here. A few travels to other places, but the rest of it kind of like takes place in here. Act 2 is a bit more open-ended. They have freedom to sort of move about between places as they see fit, in my opinion, but it's still like the central idea. Then when that's finished, then we'll see how the other acts go. I don't know. Yeah, so what was I going to say about this? I don't really know. I immediately forgot. Oh, yes. So this was meant to be like a transitional episode or something. Session, where it was meant to be like, oh, they wrap it up and then they start heading out. It was meant to be like, the epilogue's done. This is like, we're in between, the hype teasers that they put in between seasons or something to get people amped up. But that's not what ended up happening. To be perfectly honest, what ended up happening was, well, it started off pretty reasonably. I think they basically they wrap up like some conversations here with NPCs. They try and investigate. They get a lot of money, by the way. Important part, they get 1,000 gold to share between 4 of them. And they basically buy some stuff like some armor, some supplies, etc., and they round stuff off. And then like they give like a gift to one of the NPCs, that sort of thing. But basically, one of my player characters has basically had this thing with the blacksmith, kind of like I didn't expect it like off the beginning, but he was like being not being overtly flirty. His character is obviously, and no, I shouldn't say obviously, his character's not like a huge flirt. His character is just like still kind of like young and naive, I suppose, especially when it comes to, well, a lot of things, but romance as well. But he was playing it in such a way that this blacksmith was just basically stone cold. She's like so deadpan with everything, but he was like doing these gestures and thinking like, oh, that was something romantic, and being like all embarrassed about it, and it was really funny. So I was like, okay, I didn't see this as a direction going with this blacksmith. Like I didn't even give her like any character art, so eventually I gave her character art because I was like, you literally keep coming back to this blacksmith, so okay, you can have character art for this blacksmith. You can see what she looks like. And then he's basically forging his weapon with her, and it's so silly because then he did something like very silly again, where he was just like, oh, I doodle like the 2 of us as like stick people holding hands in the corner of the schematics. She just, I think I brought this up before, where she just goes like, oh, is this us? Are we holding hands? do you have a girlfriend? Do you want to have a girlfriend? And they immediately start dating. And then by the time they finish, like, forging the weapons and that sort of thing, he was meant to make this sort of, I don't even know, like, he was making jokes. But NPC's name is Cole, so he was making, like, Cole-based jokes. And then it's, like, one of them he was doing about a joke about a magic item I gave him is a ring of warmth. And I can't remember what he said exactly, but I played Cole. It was just like, are you giving me a ring? Are you proposing to me? And then he was just like, yes, I am proposing to you. And then I was like, okay, well, we're in for a penny, in for a pound. Yeah, well, let's have a marriage. So what really happened is, like, in this downtime, what I thought was going to be very sort of casual things, like we're going to like wrap up conversations to NPCs. Like one of them basically tries to sort of like navigate a story beat and understand what's really going on with it. Got a pretty decent magical item out of it, but also like the NPC is still in trouble. The other one is like a ranger who is like a pet dragon. Basically, spends time bonding with a dragon. It was honestly really, really cute, I thought. Well, I got to drop a sort of like nice bombshell with a dragon. Called him dad, and I was like, oh, this is so sweet, this is so cute. And the other one, and then the other two basically planned a wedding. Well, one of them was just like being like, okay, can I still be married and still be an adventurer? And then the blacksmith wife was like, yeah, of course you can. Like, go for it, dude. That's what I know you as. And then the other one was basically like not maid of honor, but the wedding organizer. She's like went around being like asking NPCs like to like be invited to the wedding, like thinking about like food, like catering, of like entertainment, venue, etc., going around to the different NPCs trying to find people to hire and that sort of thing. And it was just so ridiculous. I was like thinking this entire time, like, you're literally just planning a wedding in your downtime. Just absolutely insane stuff. And then we did roleplay an entire wedding in the last 30 seconds. The players afterwards said, or one of the players afterwards, she said, it was like, oh, I thought it was going to just be like a thing we would do like next time. And I was like, no, we learned into this improv bit, we're going to do it now, here and now, because I mean, if they want to improv spend a whole session doing a wedding and that sort of thing, but I was just like, this is not really what I had in mind. There's only so long I think we should spend on this wedding. Maybe later we can go back to it and revisit it and have like a renewed wedding. I don't know. But they ended up spending 700 gold on this wedding and 50 gold for a gift for the groom, which is insane. Bear in mind, I gave them 1,000 gold. The two of them spent basically all their money on the wedding. So I was just like, okay, well, at this point, a gold is like a huge amount of money, even like for a commoner. So this is like, and they're basically like in a rural farming village, and it's just like, oh, this is like a huge deal. This is like the biggest, best wedding you've ever seen. It's like incredible. I had to improv 3 wedding speeches. I had to improv like wedding vows for the bride, and then like 2 NPCs were the best man and the maid of honor. And I was like, okay, let's just improv some wedding speeches here. And not to mention that I led the session off with a speech from actually the person playing the best man, because it was like he was giving like the end of festival speech. It was so great. It was honestly, actually, it was a really cute episode, because there was like a touching thing where that player character who ended up being the groom gave like a really, really sweet gift to one of the NPCs where he left. One of the NPCs wrote a letter in response, like, because I gave him, or the character her, a letter last time from like one of the background NPCs from the character's background, and then the player, actually wrote a letter in response, which I haven't even like, I skimmed read it in the session. I was like, this is so cute. And then of course that bonding moment between one of the player characters and his dragon was super cute, where the dragon actually sees him as a father, and apparently also this character's now just become the father figure of a group, which I thought was super adorable. It was really great character growth from this character, and then like this other character, of course, going above and beyond to officiate and to organize this crazy wedding for a friend, which it's even weirder to think that these characters know each other for like about 10 days. Well, I think 2 of the characters actually known each other for the longest, because they met like a week before. So I'm trying to think how. So these the 2 characters who known each other the longest know each other for have known each other for 12 days. No, hold on, 4 days later. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, okay, it would be the 5th is the day of a wedding. No, so 6th is the day they leave. Right? I need to make notes to make sure the calendar makes sense in my head. So let's see. 5th is... Yes, I did make a calendar for this thing. 6th is... Okay, I had to make a note, otherwise I would have forgot about it. Yeah, so the longest that two of them have known each other is 18 days. So not even 3 weeks. And the bride and groom have known each other for how long? Like 2 weeks, and they've already got married. Of course, it's very silly, like D&D terms, but it's a very sort of like love at first sight sort of thing. And since they're moving on, yeah, okay, I guess it makes sense for them to... Why not have a wedding before they leave? It's just so insane. It was a really fun RP session, might I add. I'm just sort of like making notes at the same time so I don't forget about it. And it was 100%, like, they've made jokes every single time, but because they do some really, like, crazy, weird, random stuff that is just like, oh, dear darling, like, dear darling, like, probably incredibly frustrated at this point, just being like, I can't predict what they're going to do next. It's the craziest thing. I'm absolutely here for it. I'm so for it every single time. It's so fun, funny, ridiculous. It's amazing to see what both groups, like, get up to, what they pull out bag. Like, I mean, I said on Monday, like, we have a group just like, I thought they were straight up gonna dive, and they like actually pulled out a very smart sort of like tactic retroactively, which I was like, yeah, that makes sense for you to do, which actually basically saved them from a TPK. It's just incredible. A role-played wedding. This is not what I expected to happen during today's session. It's just, I don't even know what to say. It was really funny. And I guess it kind of worked because in this campaign, I introduced like a lot of NPCs of them. But the other campaign, I guess I could do a wedding. I don't know how it would work though, because I don't know who would get married. They know significantly fewer NPCs, but they know a lot more like history about the world. They know a lot more, I suppose, lore, if anything. It's just, I can't believe it. If anything, I feel like it's very definitive of what D&D kind of is. You know, the sort of like, oh, the most random stuff can happen, and especially when you have like someone suggest something crazy, and then me as a DM just go like, all right, let's lean into this. Absolutely. I don't say that, of course, every single time for every single thing, but this time I was like, why not? And it's just, I've no idea what to think about it. Yeah, by the way, improving wedding speeches pretty difficult. Wedding vows, I just said, I don't even remember what I said. If you ask me again what I said, I can remember, okay, what was a bride's wedding vows? Something about how she was a very sort of stoic person, and only passion like was really with blacksmithing, until it was like a sort of love at first sight, with his like persistence and energy and positivity that he brings. What was the maid of honor speech was something about how the bride, despite most people know her as like the stoic hard-working blacksmith, but she has a really like sort of soft side, and that kindness is reflected, I suppose, once you get to know her. The best man speech was about them basically being like heroes, kind of. It's I don't know, I have very little recollection of what I do. Like, I mean, DMing is a lot of improv, don't get me wrong, and D&D is a lot of improv at the same time. Never would I thought I'd be improving a wedding though at any point. Honestly, I didn't think it would be like a story I have any other players would be interested in, but here we are. How fun. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say about this. It just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you could certainly take the easier improv way out, where you just sort of like describe narratively kind of what happens. You don't have to do with speeches, but I was like, come on, I'll commit to it. You know, the groom, he had to, if anything, like, I feel like I'm pretty decent at improv now, so it's, you know, totally fine. And I can come up with like a somewhat feasible speech off the top of my head. But if anything, it was just better just to have like, be like, okay, groom, you need to come up with a speech. Okay, you're playing the father, quote, quote, of this player character. Not actually father, just father figure. All right, you come up with a speech as well. And then, like, the other two PCs, it was they both officiated the wedding. So I'm just like, I don't know what on earth's going on. Amusingly, the player character who got married comes from like a very rural tribe. And I was just like, okay, well, I will leave this up to you. However you think weddings work in your tribe's culture, I will allow. As long as it's reasonable. And then they just had like a very traditional, like, what, like a Christian wedding, I guess? Is that like where the origins of this sort of style of wedding came from? I don't know. Western world wedding? It's just very, very traditional in that sense. Which is really funny to think about. This rural tribe still has the same sort of traditions of wedding vows, etc., etc. Honestly, crazy. Honestly, so strange. I can't even begin to describe how strange it was, I suppose. Where like partway through like doing a speech, I was just like, what is going on? What? Not like a why is this happening sort of like why have thou forsaken me sort of way. Just like this is just so incredibly weird. I love it though, all the same. Yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to see what absolute insanity either of the campaigns will be cooking up next time. And I mean, that's kind of like one of the joys of playing with DM, just being like, okay, let's see where this goes. Yeah, I don't know. Do I hope my actual wedding is going to be as grandiose as that wedding was? I mean, narratively speaking, they spent a lot of money on the wedding, and weddings are generally quite expensive. Well, okay, they don't have to be, but weddings can be quite expensive, depending how lavishly you spend on it. But, like, they spent 700 gold. And I said to them, like, as a ballpark, like, nobility, like, to be considered, like, upper class, your daily expenses would be about 10 gold every day. So it'd be, like, literally the cost of living every single day for 70 days in a row of someone who is, like, incredibly wealthy, someone who's like maybe not part of nobility, but certainly in the upper echelons of society, which I don't know, like maybe like the top 100,000 per year divided by 360 times 70, 365 times 70 is 20,000 on a wedding, which honestly, like, there definitely are more expensive weddings, but considering the fact they were in like a rural farming village, that's pretty expensive. Like, that's hugely expensive. It's probably multiple. I didn't think about it, but I guess most of the commoners would just be like, whoa, you know, this is like an insane amount of money. This is like more money than they spent more on this wedding than I would earn throughout like 5 lives or something, for like 5 years or something. Anyway, I don't know. This is just insanity. So yeah, improvised role-played wedding, I guess. That's check that box, I suppose, off D&D. And what's next? I don't know. But on any note, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you haven't watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.